So, hey guys, I am here today with an incredible person. I'm very excited for this. He is an award-winning mindset strategist. He's worked with celebrities, professional athletes and business owners. He's the owner of Make It Happen. He's also a master practitioner in NLP. He's a member of the International Coaching Federation and is a certified master coach. He was a finalist for Coach of the Year at the Association of Professional Coaches, Trainers and Consultants Awards. He's spoken at the TEDx conference. He's a blogger for the Huffington Post, and he's the co-creator of the Evolve Network, which is a networking event happening in multiple locations across the UK, helping people connect, learn and grow with like-minded people. So I'm very excited to introduce Will Polston. Will,
thank you.
How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Guys thinking, well, sounds like I did quite a lot there, doesn't it?
That's a massive bio. That's a massive bio, and I was really excited to speak to you today around mindset, around strategies. I like the way that you market yourself and the information that you bring to people. So I'm really looking forward to this. So thank you for your time.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for coming down, and hopefully the people watching can take some value from it as well.
And just to let you know, Will's just completed a two-day event, over 20 hours of coaching and hard work with a great group of people. So it's even more of an honour to have him here today. So the first question then, let's go right back in time. What was your first achievement that you were deeply proud of?
Oh, great question. My first achievement that I was really proud of. What's one that springs to mind? So one that I do remember that sticks out, I mean, I must have been about 8 years old at the time, was I've just retired from playing ice hockey this season. Yeah. So up until recently I played ice hockey for 23, 24 years. And I remember my first ever game I played, I was on what we call green line. So when you're under 10, you had red line, which was the best players, yellow line, and green line, which was basically you're not very good. Yeah. I was on green line. My first ever shift of my first ever game, I scored a goal. That's something that stands out for me as an achievement. Yeah, it's pretty vivid still.
Awesome. So what has been the lesson then? So you were on the green line, as you say, you were down on the list. So what's been the lesson for you from coming from that and then spending 23 years playing ice hockey at a high level as well? Okay,
so to go even a step further back from that, so actually what came from that was the first time I ever went ice skating was at Romford Ice Rink, which is sort of our competitors, ironically, being in Essex, sort of the only two ice rinks in Essex, having played for chunks of my whole life. And I saw a poster of an ice hockey player, and I was 6 or 7 at the time. And when I left and I went home, I went into the garage and I got a broom and a tennis ball out, and I just started pushing this tennis ball around with this broom. And my dad obviously realised what I was doing, so he took me to Toys R Us and bought me a Franklin street hockey set. And I suppose the lesson there was that if you see something you want to do, you can model to create a result of some sort. And then when I did my first ever beginners ice hockey session, so I was doing my skating, and I did that first ever session to be able to get into the team. I failed. I didn't get picked, and I didn't get picked. So rather than just say, "Oh well, that's no good. I'm just going to stop and I'm not going to do it," I then said, "Well, how can I get better?" And my parents probably said, "Well, let's get you better." So I then went and did my skating grades, and I got better at skating, and I practiced more, and then I did get into the team, and then that first game that happened. So I suppose it's no isn't final, I suppose is the lesson there.
Awesome. So is those lessons there, and that no isn't the final answer, is that what has set you up for success now?
Has that set me up? Do you know what? That's a good question. I probably never thought of it in that way before. I mean, I literally have on my desk. I have a frame with there's no such thing as lack of resources, only lack of resourcefulness in the frame on my desk upstairs. So I when people tell me no, I don't accept it a lot of the time. You know, it's like It might be no, but I see that as no, I can't do it with you. Doesn't mean no, I can't do it. So yeah, that's something that I definitely do have as a way of thinking for sure.
And you've taken a lot of inspiration from Tony Robbins, haven't you? And from hearing what you say and reading about yourself online as well, I think a big switch for you was when you attended UPW.
That's right.
So explain more about that and that switch and that change in you.
So again, to put it all into context, so I grew up with a belief that money equals happiness, and I went off on a tangent to earn as much money as I could, as early as I could, and what that was born out of was I've got two uncles. One of my uncles is a billionaire, the other one's a multi-millionaire, and my dad, I grew up with my dad just saying they just got lucky, you know, and it got to a point in my life where my dad, for a number of different reasons, become very depressed, and I witnessed that, and I thought, well, hold on a minute, his uncle Mark, he's multi-millionaire, he's a billionaire, he's really happy. His uncle Steve, he's a multi-millionaire, he's really happy. His dad, he was a lot happier when he worked than now he's not working and he's depressed. So for me, it was obvious money equals happiness. So at 11, 12 years old, I became that kid. I went off on that tangent to earn as much money as I could. And at 18, I stumbled across personal development. The more personal development I did, the more money I made, so I did more and more personal development. And then at 23, I had what I call my lightning moment, which I was at UPW. And it was when Tony was sharing the Thanksgiving story, which is sort of quite well known. If you're not familiar with it, search it on YouTube, you'll be able to watch it. And that moment for Tony, the Thanksgiving story, where the stranger came to the door and said, don't allow your ego to be the excuse that prevents your family having a Thanksgiving dinner, or something to that effect, I'm paraphrasing. What I heard when Tony saw that story was, I heard that stranger say to Tony's dad, don't allow, they just got lucky to be the excuse that prevents you from providing for your family, and so on and so forth. And just sort of cried my eyes out and realised, well, if that's been a catalyst to enable him to go and do what he wanted to do and have the impact that he's had, and we've got very similar stories, like if you unpick it, you can connect dots, you can see how it's similar. I thought, well, that's maybe my mission, that's what it is that I can go and do, that's the impact that I can have, and that's what enabled that to happen and go on from there.
So what were the feelings like when you were making a lot of money, you were focused on personal development, but you're in that mindset of money equals happiness? So what are the difference between the feelings then and the feelings now that you have a mission to serve, you're helping a lot of people?
Good question. In terms of the feelings, I mean, I'd say it was things more than feelings back then. So I was very materialistic. Don't get me wrong, I still like nice stuff now. Yeah. I do like nice stuff. But the difference being is the nice stuff's the byproduct now of the work that I'm doing. And that's extremely, extremely powerful for me. I love that. I mean, I remember back then it was like I'd got my house, I had the cars I wanted, I had clothes I wanted, but it felt something was missing, if that makes sense. Whereas now, don't get me wrong, things aren't perfect. I've still got challenges, I've got stuff I'm working through, the same as everybody else. But now, the work I do, I can just keep going and going and going. I just love it. And yeah, look, there's got to be an element of strategy to it, I believe. But the feelings are a lot more fulfilling, you know. And I noticed that because I get emotional. You know, even yesterday we were doing the event, and it's 2 powerful days. So I looked at Potential was my signature event. You've mentioned, and these guys spend the best part of 20 hours with me across 2 days. It's intense. We put tissues out on the table for people because we know what it is that they're going in for, and literally within 30 minutes I've got people in tears, you know, and they're tears of gratitude, tears of inspiration, and these are people that are breaking through, and when they're saying the things they're saying at the end of the event, and they're saying things like this is life changing, and they're not just saying it's life changing, you got it, it's like this is truly life changing, and they're moved and I'm moved, and yeah, it impacts me. So at a heart level, I feel stuff a lot more than I ever used to, for sure.
And it's that kind of energy is what it keeps you going. It's unlimited. And what I like, you said something there about byproduct, and I think that's important for people to realise about making money and helping people. That money is just a byproduct. one of my mentors, he says this fantastic thing about, he uses the example of a bee, and a bee is there, its purpose is to, make honey, and so it takes the nectar from the flowers. But in doing so, the byproduct of that is it's cross-pollinating across the world plants, which is our food. So the bee doesn't realize it's doing that. That's the processional effect. However, we have a gift where we realize, there is a side effect that we have, and that side effect is actually the main effect, and that's the powerful stuff.
Yeah, I talk a lot about the ripple effect. So my mission in life now is I want to empower 1 billion people to transform excuses into results, to benefit themselves, their family, their friends, their community, society, humanity, the universe. And so I refer to that as the ripple effect. And that's exactly what it is. You don't realise the actions that you're having, the actions that you are having by you just showing up and you doing what you're doing, the people that reach out to you, and you never know. You never know. You never realise what you're doing. And I've had some really powerful moments when people have said stuff because of I'm just doing the norm, and people are watching social media and YouTube and things like this. People are watching without you realising it. Sure.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So go back to the year before you went into business. What do you wish that you had done differently in that moment?
Started sooner.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be one. I've been self-employed since I was 18 years old anyway. So even though I was working for companies, I was on 100% commission only. So the way that I see it is a lot of people that have for them the risk, the concern of going self-employed is the financial risk of not getting a salary. I've not had a salary since I was 18 years old anyway. So even though I didn't officially start my first proper business until I was sort of mid-20s, I had been self-employed, if that makes sense, commission only, not getting a fixed salary from the age of 18. So that was definitely different. But yeah, I would have started sooner. One of my big realizations, particularly in business, is one of the things that I wish that I'd realized even at 18 years old, is that the true purpose of business is to serve others for the greater good. Whereas I used to think business is about making money, whereas now I realize you look at any really successful business, what they're doing is they're making an impact. That's what they're doing. And realizing that, and because I worked in the financial services industry, so it was just money, like commissions, how much money can we make? We never really thought ever about the purpose of the work that we were doing. It was like, right, what can we get out of this? It was very, very selfish as an industry as a whole. And whereas now, it's being able to see the difference that you can make to other people.
So what advice would you give to somebody watching this? Maybe they're stuck in a job, they're stuck in a 9 to 5 maybe, and they're not sure how to go about adding more value because they're in this system where it's a numbers game. It's just about making the money at the end of the day.
So the advice for me is get clear on what do you really want to do ultimately. I refer to it as a North Star. So ultimately in life, personally, professionally, financially, in all the key areas of life, what do you want life to look like? Then reverse engineer it. So you find out where you are now. This is where I ultimately want it to be in 20 years from now. Let's reverse engineer it. What does that look like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 1 year from now, 90 days from now, a month from now, a week from now? What does that look like? So you can do that. If you're saying, well, I don't really know what I like, then one of the concepts that I talk to people about is creating an ikigai. You familiar with ikigai?
I'm not.
Okay, so in Japan, there's an island off of Japan, a place called Okinawa, where they have the highest dense population of centurions in the world. So there are more people that live over 100 years old than anywhere else in the world, and they live by this principle called an ikigai. And we don't have a direct translation for it in English, but it basically means reason for being. And I'm sure we all know someone or have heard the stories of people that they live their whole life doing something and then they retire and they die because the thing that they did their whole life, they've no longer got that to work towards. Or the people that are so in love that as soon as their husband dies, then they die, or vice versa. And because that was their purpose. So they talk about having this reason for being. And The reason for being big, if you can imagine a Venn diagram, so you've got a circle, a circle, a circle, a circle, and they just sort of overlap perfectly in the middle, and that's the sweet spot. So one of the things that you identify is what do you love doing? So you make a big list of what are the things that you love doing. Then you make a list of what are you good at. Then you make a list of what does the world need. And then you make a list of what can you be paid for. And then you play around with it. I talk about having a shape sorter. So remember when you were a kid, you had that toy that was like a cube, and it had triangle holes in it and circle holes in it and 12. And you put the triangle hole in the triangle peg in the triangle hole, and so on and so forth. And we're effectively trying those different things on until we get to a point in the middle where we've got that sweet spot, and that's something that you can do that will light your fire and go, well, yeah, that's something I could do. But then people have the dilemma of go, well, that's what I really want to do, and this is where I am now, and then they get caught in a dilemma. Mm-hmm. Now, when you've got one option, you've got no option. When you've got two options, you've got a dilemma. When you've got three or more options, you've got a choice. So if this is where I am now, and this is where I really want to be, well, we just look at, well, where's the third option in terms of choice? And that could be you do it, but you start it as a side hustle. So you do it for a few hours outside of work. Then you build it up. Then gradually you get to a point where you've covered your survival budget. So you might be earning X amount a month, but that's double what you really need to live on. That's double that pays your rent or your mortgage or put your picture in the car, puts food on your table. The double amount means you can have the luxuries like the holidays and this, that and the other. Well, then you go, well, once I've got enough money to cover my survival needs, well, I'm going to hand in my notice now, and then you can get yourself up to that sort of luxury living sort of much quicker than just sort of plodding along. So that's a few suggestions.
So it's very much like the compound effect, really, because you're in a job, your time is limited, you're working a little bit, perhaps you've got half an hour here and there, but then you eventually get yourself to a point where you can cross over, you can make the transition, and then you're away because you have all that time in the day.
Exactly. But you've got a foundation, and that foundation is the hardest part to start, right? It's like if you watch a house being built from like a greenfield site, and so they have to put in new infrastructure, new sewages, and you worked in construction before, right? So you know all about this. Yeah. So they're having to put in all of the brownfield stuff. So like I said, the sewages, the electrics, all the rest of it. They could be on that site for 3 months, and it looks like nothing's happening.
Yep.
Right? But loads is happening. We just can't see it because it's below the ground. And then all of a sudden, in 6 weeks, this whole development's built. But it's been happening for 3 months prior to that. It's just we couldn't see it, and that is the sort of, you look at the compound effect. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. It sort of does this, and you get to that point. But for that period of time, it looks like nothing's happening, but it is. So yeah, working on that is definitely been.
And what you were saying there, what came into my head was, who could think about it was Rachel Hollis, because a lot of people think it's like this myth around being an overnight success, and there is no such thing, because actually what these people have done, and the person that came to my mind was Rachel Hollis, because they've worked 10, 15 years below ground, as you said, getting all the drainage, the electrics in below ground. There's a lot of work going on, and then all of a sudden it comes out the ground, and then you see the visible side of it.
Building the foundations.
Was there a moment for you was there a noticeable moment for you where it was you were putting in all the groundwork for a long period of time, and then it suddenly just exploded?
No, is the short answer. I did, like with my coaching business, I didn't do that. I suppose you can say I did, because I had another business at the time, and that was sort of plodding on. They were kind of crossing over to a degree. I mean, for me, what have been some realisations? Have I ever had a moment where I felt it's exploded? No, but I'm a big reflector, so I'm super driven, right? To share a little story with you. So a few years ago, I climbed Mont Blanc. I summited Mont Blanc, and one of the things that was really evident for me is that when you're in Chamonix, you look up at Mont Blanc, you say, "Oh wow, that's a long way away." Then you get up 1,000 meters, and then you look at it, "Wow, it's a long way away." You get 2,000, you go, "Wow, it's a long way away." 3,000 meters, "Wow, it's a long way." 4,000 meters, "Wow, it's a long way away." 4,500 meters, and you go, "Wow, still a long way away." You're constantly, I remember being 10 minutes from the summit and thinking, "God, still a long way away," right? But the only time when you really ever realise how far you've come is when you stop and you look back. Because what would happen is that I would walk up that 1,000 metres, I'd stop and look down and go, bloody hell, wow. Those cars are ants all of a sudden. And then you walk a bit higher, you look down and you go, oh my God, wow, yeah. You can't even see the cars, you can't even see the town anymore, so everything's so small. You go a bit higher, you look down and you go, wow, I'm actually 100 metres above the clouds. You know, you can see planes literally, what feel like touching distance away from you. So I think it's so important to check back. And one of the things for me is, very rarely do I ever think, oh wow, yeah, it's exploded, because we just don't have that. It's a bit like when you're losing weight. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day, you never really notice the change. But someone that you haven't seen for 2 weeks looks at you and goes, wow, blimey hell, you've lost weight. You know, it's one of those things. So I'm a big reflector. I love to reflect. And I look and I see how far I've come. And it was interesting. I was doing a search on for my podcast on iTunes the other day, and I typed in my name because it's easy to find my podcast by my name rather than make it happen, because loads come up that are going to happen. And then I come up with all the other episodes of all the other people that I've done these type of interviews with that I had even forgotten about. Like, wow, I've done dozens of these things, and I've forgotten about them. Some from years ago. I didn't even know we were going to be a podcast at that point. We did a video and they uploaded it as a podcast, so it was quite interesting. So yeah, those kind of moments are great to take stock and learn from, for sure.
So when you're reflecting, is that something you do daily at the end of the week?
Great question. It's a combination, really. I definitely reflect monthly. I do reflect weekly as well, so I have a process that I go through with goals to see how far I've come. So weekly and monthly when it definitely happens, but sometimes I just stop in general and just go, right, I'm going to take stock. I'll come and sit in a nice comfortable area, or I'll go to like a Costa and I'll just go, right, let's just acknowledge some of the stuff that we've done. We do something called a monthly memo to everyone in our team, and we sort of acknowledge the wins of the company in the month. And one of the things that we do to do that is I go back through my phone, so I get little screenshots of stuff. So I go back to the beginning of the month and I scroll through my phone, photos I might have taken when I'm at events or whatever, and I realise how much we do and I do in a month, and that's quite a rewarding exercise to go back and do.
Awesome. So because when you're reflecting, it's easy, when things are going great, when life is great, it's easy to reflect and go, oh yeah, I've learned that lesson, or I've learned this, I've done that. What about when things aren't going so well? Perhaps you've had, perhaps there's been a big failure, or it kind of feels like the wheels are coming off a little bit. How do you still get yourself into a position where you're reflecting, but you're in control of your mindset, you're in control of your emotions?
Sure. So there's only 3 things that we can control. That's our perception, that's our action, and that's our choices. So in terms of where we're at, and I say that, another way of explaining it is that what you choose to focus on, what you choose to make things mean, and then what you choose to do next. So it's similarities. And what I do daily is that I practice gratitude. So I don't just go, yeah, I'm grateful for the fact that I got here today, and I'm grateful I'm alive, which is like the good stuff, right? I'm looking for the gratitude in the stuff that's not going so well. So what are the lessons? What am I learning about this situation? Things that aren't going so well right now, right? What am I learning about? How's that made me grow? How's that made me contribute more? How's that going to be more valuable in the future? Are things that I do daily.
And is there an example there from perhaps the last 12 months where something hasn't been going very well, but you've really focused on finding out what are you grateful for in that moment? What is to be drawn out of that moment?
Yeah, I've had plenty. We had a significant challenge within the business. It's something that we did a few years ago that didn't work out, which put us under a lot of strain. So I look for the benefits, and where I look for the benefits, the way that I do that, so I talk about having means, values, and end values. Everyone has means, values, and end values, but I get people to get clear on what they are. And when you're clear on your means, values, you can look. So my 4 highest means, values are self-mastery, building businesses, building relationships, and creating wealth. So I look in those areas, where am I benefiting? So because of the problem, where am I benefiting those 4 areas? How are those 4 areas benefiting because of this situation? So personal mastery, right? When I'm having to learn new skills, or I'm having to harness I'm building greater levels of resilience or whatever it is that I'm doing, building businesses. Well, I can use this lesson because it means that we're having to strip back costs, or I'm bringing in a new member of the team. How am I building relationships? Well, actually, yeah, because of that, I've got that new coach, or I've had to go and learn from that person, or I've realised I've reached out to more people that when I was in a challenge, say, hey, look, I'm having a tough time right now, and people are coming and helping me, and I'm building on those relationships. It's helped me create wealth because I can take that knowledge and then I could potentially sell that knowledge in the future to other people that are having challenges. And I look around the 8 key areas of life. So how does it benefit my family? How my family dynamic benefiting because of this? How's my relationship situation benefiting this? How's my social life benefiting? How's my attitude benefiting? How's my career and business benefiting? How my personal growth goals and bucket list goals and financially, how am I benefiting out of this as well? Because there's always a blessing.
Particularly if you can share, like you said, if you can share those experiences, people are going to learn from. They're going to learn from your mistakes, which means they're going to get to their results that they want quicker. So yeah, fantastic. So do you have, you mentioned when you were playing ice hockey, you didn't get picked for a team very early on, but has there been a failure of yours in your career and lifetime that's been a particular favourite?
There's a few ones that really stand out. So I left London. I set up a renewable energy business with a business partner, and we went from a standing start to having 85 staff, growing. We were just getting to the point where we were turning over 7 figures a month, and then government changed legislation, wiped that whole business out. We had to let go of pretty much, we had to let go of about 65 of our staff almost overnight, and at the time we had the best part of a 5,000 square foot office. We had to scale that right back, and yeah, that changed dramatically. But what that did is that was the catalyst that enabled me to move forward and make it happen. So I decided years before this is what I really wanted to do, but I said I'll do it when I'm successful. And I always put it in inverted commas because of course success is subjective. So I said when I'm successful, then I'll do it. And then when that all went kaput, I just thought, why am I wasting my time still trying to do this when, of getting successful and then doing what I really want to do? Now I can start now. So I'm a big believer that life happens for you, not to you. And if you look, you'll find the reasons why.
And has there been any advice ever given to you which has been particularly terrible advice?
No, because when I look at it, I can't see whatever the advice was given me served me in that moment to take me on a journey to teach me something that I needed to learn. So I can't say there's any terrible advice, because even the advice that I got, the only way I could deem it to be terrible is because I have a perception of it, and that perception would be different to the outcome I wanted. But the actuality of the situation is I needed to go on that journey to enable me to grow to be where I'm at now anyway.
So what you're saying is you had to, whether the advice was bad or good advice, you had to take that advice anyway, implement it to find out for yourself what the lesson was, what the learning was.
So there's a very famous story about the boy that cut open the I forget the name of the term, when caterpillars go into the cocoon, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. The boy that cut open the cocoon to enable the butterfly to get out, and then the butterfly was never able to fly because the boy cut the cocoon too early. And the reason that butterflies have to struggle to get out of their cocoon is it enables them to build strength in their wings that enables them to fly. If they don't break themselves out of their own cocoon, someone does it, they never build that strength. And I see these opportunities, albeit sometimes there's been times in the past where I haven't been able to see it, and that's the beauty of working with coaches, is that they enable you to see things that you can't necessarily see yourself. Is that it was something that was enabling that strength to be built.
So how, for the people watching, how could they put themselves through that process where they're trying to break out the cocoon to build, strengthen themselves, to build whatever it is, confidence?
It all comes back to the same thing, which is, for me, the North Star. So what is it that you ultimately want, personally, professionally, financially, get as detailed as you possibly can? Where are you now? Because most people, they're here, right? And most people never set goals anyway. They just sort of drift on the river of life. But those that do set goals, they set short-term goals. All right, I'm going to set my goal for a year. And I set another goal for a year, and then another goal for a year, and then another goal for a year. And what happens, they just sort of ping, remember that the game we used to play, right? Pinball. And they just sort of pinball across life. Whereas if you go, right, this is where I want to get to, let's reverse engineer that process, then that's what I call your North Star trajectory. And the same way that a plane takes off in London and it goes to New York, it plots that trajectory. It doesn't mean it flies on course the whole time. In fact, most aircraft fly off course 95% of the time because they're having to make constant adjustments to the wind, the weather, or whatever it is that's coming their way. And it's the same with us.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fall into what I call the rift, and the rift for me is stress, overwhelm, frustration, depression, anxiety, unfulfillment, all those negative emotions. But any negative emotion is simply a signal to be thinking or acting differently. So what those signals are doing are telling you to get back congruent so that we can progress you forward and move you to where it is you want to get to.
So frustration then, what is that signalling?
So the same is that you're not congruent.
Right.
Yeah. So in life we've got two things that we can be doing. To quote Wayne Dyer, is that we can change the way we can change. If you don't like something, change it. You can't change it. Change the way you think about it. So sometimes frustration is because we're not doing the thing that we could be doing, or we could be doing something differently. And sometimes we just need to change our perspective of what's going on.
And coming back to your comments about reflection as well, is that why it is so important to reflect constantly? Because otherwise you could be doing, you've got your, as you say, your guiding star, but if you're not reflecting, you could be going off on a different tangent.
100%. So when I do my goals, so I said about I do weekly and monthly, so I have all my goals written out, ultimate 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1-year, 90-day, 30-day, weekly goals. And then each week I'll go through and I'll highlight the progress that I'm making on my monthly goals. So each week I'll go through and go, right, have I made an update on that? Yeah, I have. At the end of the month, I update that against my quarterly goals. At the end of the quarter, I update that against my yearly goals. At the end of the year, I update that against my 3-year goals. At the end of 3 years, I update that against my 5-year goals, so on and so forth. So I can see when I'm not on track. So if a month's gone by, let's say we're in week 3 of the month, and there's very little highlighter on my monthly goals, I know I've got to buck my ideas up, because come the end of the month, I'm going to be really annoyed and unfulfilled and frustrated and whatever emotion you want to put on it, that I've not achieved my goals.
So this is your way of creating self-accountability.
Bingo, yeah.
So for the audience to succeed in business, what is the number one skill that they need to learn and work on?
It's a tough one. I don't think there is one skill that you can have in business. I really don't. I really don't. So people say, well, what's the one secret in business? I don't think there is one. So I don't think there's one skill. What I would say is awareness is key. So one of the things I get all of my clients to do is something called a wealth dynamic psychometric. So they fill out their wealth dynamic psychometric, which enables them to see what key strengths they are in creating wealth. And then what we do is we get them to do those things and delegate the things that they're weak at. So stick to your strengths and delegate your weaknesses. I suppose you could say that's a skill.
Yeah. And the wealth dynamics test, what was yours?
So I come out as a creator. So and what was really interesting is that when I go through and I read through it, the things that I love doing are all my strengths, and the things that I hate doing and that drain me of energy are my weaknesses. It makes perfect sense.
No, I'm smiling because I did the test as well. Creator was what I came out as well. Yeah. And it's great, I have coaches as well, and you'll be getting frustrated on actions and doing something, and then they'll highlight for you that is the profile of a creator, and it's like, oh yeah, this is it. So yeah, that self-awareness is just helps control the emotions more.
100%.
Okay. So when you feel your own mindset perhaps wobble, or you feel fearful, maybe you're procrastinating, what do you do?
So I've got a number of we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to our training, right? So we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to the level of our training. So I put a lot of habits in place to enable me to progress and move forward. Because if we just rely on willpower all the time, willpower is a muscle, like a muscle, and a muscle gets tired. So what I do is I have lots of habits in place to enable me to try and stay on track. So I'm a theme for time mastery. So I have something called a must-do list, and I have a particular way that I use my diary that enables me to kind of stay on track. Do I have times when I get fearful? Of course I do. I'm human. I meditate most days, which is extremely helpful. I make sure that I have great people around me, coaches, etc., people to lean on. I've got a great network of people that I can reach out to and bounce ideas off of and share problems and challenges with. But I also have some key affirmations, and one of my affirmations is I'm a master problem solver and possibility creator. You know, I'm a big believer in there's no such thing as problems, only solutions. Like, let's come off the problem, let's focus on the solution, and let's get the result. Let's move forward.
That support network for you, which is around you, what would you say to somebody who perhaps doesn't have the positive support around them? They don't have that network they can reach out to for help and guidance.
Cool. Create it. So I talk about power. Proximity is power. So it can start with, so ideally to create a fulfilled network, and I mean a network that fulfills you, is you want mentors. And those mentors don't have to be people you pay for. Like, you can have direct mentors and indirect mentors. Some of my mentors I've never even met, but I've been mentored from because I've read their books, I've watched their videos, so on and so forth. So mentors, colleagues or peers, people that are at your level. So find people that are at your level. Go along to events. If you want to be a runner, go to running clubs. If you want to be in business, go to business networking events. If you want to be an artist, go to art classes. Get around like-minded people, and then mentees. So people that, because wherever you're at in your journey, there's people that perceive you to be further ahead of the journey than them. So you've got the people you're learning from, the people that are your colleagues that you can be sharing with and that are there to challenge you, and the people that you can give that little something back to. The person that you can give the little nugget of wisdom to. I haven't got an issue with asking for help. I reach out and ask for help all the time. And I ask for help from people that are further ahead from me, and I ask for help from people that want to learn from me. Like my clients, my network, I say, look, what do you want to learn from me next? What's going to be most useful for you? Help me help you.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is that you want, and because there's no point in me just making a new course on X, Y, and Z. That's not what they really want. If everyone's struggling with time mastery, but I think we should do a course on morning routines, well, I'm not really serving them. So I'm asking the question to help me help them.
Because then, it's about adding value to them, and they're going to give you the answers of what they want.
100%.
So how can somebody watching this, how can they start creating more discipline for themselves? You spoke about habits and how important that was for you, particularly around time management in your life. How can people go about creating these habits?
So any habit is created, there's three parts to creating a habit. So you have a trigger, you have the routine, which is the doing of the habit, and then you have the rewards. If you take brushing your teeth, for example, brushing your teeth, the trigger might be you see your toothbrush, right, and the toothpaste on the sink or whatever, or you see the cabinet, which you know that's in, and that becomes the trigger. The routine is you doing it. When you brush your teeth, the reward afterwards is your teeth feel nice and smooth, that minty freshness breath, so that is something there. So that would be one thing. The second is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So having some form of accountability. So even if you've just got a piece of A4 paper, and let's say it's something you want to do every day, right? Just draw some lines on the piece of paper, create 30 boxes, and then every day when you do that habit, you put a little cross in it. So you stick this piece of paper on the fridge or whatever, and every day you do it. So then what happens is not only do you get in the routine of doing the habit, the reward is almost like, I'm giving myself a little tick or a cross or whatever it is you're putting on that. And then you get into a point, you build momentum. Then you don't want to break the sequence. When I was meditating, I wanted to do 100 days of meditating consecutively. And I remember getting to day like 70 or day 80, and the thought of having to go back to one was like horrific. So sometimes it would be, I'd get in at 11 o'clock at night and be like, I want to go to bed. No, I need to meditate for 10 minutes because I want to keep my chain going of doing 100 days or whatever. So yeah, it will help you get in that habit to move forward.
Because as humans, we love competition. So as soon as there's an opportunity to be competitive, we want to win, which is why, as you say, creating that long chain, you don't want to break it. You don't want to break that sequence and go back to zero. So it's a great way of creating that habit of self-competition. Brilliant. So what are the ways that people can create more desire, more hunger and determination to go after some success? And success, being subjective.
Yeah, so get clear on their means values. So the means values, what are the things that they do that fill them up, fire them on all cylinders, is one of the things. And then secondly is the realising the impact that it's going to have on people other than themselves. So I did a TEDx talk, and my TEDx talk is called "It's Not About You," and it's implementing that theory of like, realise what it is that you're going to go and do isn't just about you. The other people that they can have, the ripple effect that they can have as a result of you doing that is going to be massively, I find, can be massively inspiring.
So who's somebody that you know that the audience might not know of yet and they need to know?
Dr. John Demartini, I would probably say. So Tony Robbins is obviously world renowned, has been for 4 decades for being in the personal development space. I love Tony and what he stands for. Dr. John Demartini, for me, has the most advanced, so Tony's stuff's great, and I'm a massive fan of Tony still, but for me, John has the most advanced tools and techniques on human awareness and human potential and human behaviour that exists on the planet. So if people aren't familiar with John's work, then I'd recommend start to indulge yourself in that.
And I know you've done a lot of work with him. I've always been curious myself to know how that relationship started. How did that come about?
The Secret. I read The Secret 12 years ago. It's the first personal development book I ever read, and he was in The Secret. And then I became a fan and learned stuff and learned more and more and more. And then I got him to come and speak at an event of mine a few years ago. We spent 4 days together. I literally picked him up from the airport. So I've got this legend sat in my car, picking him up from the airport. Like when you're waiting for your mum or dad, when you come back from the airport to pick him up, I'm waiting for one of my heroes to come and get in my car and drive him back, which was funny because on the way, I got so absorbed in where we were going, I just typed in the hotel that we were going to. I typed in the wrong hotel, so we ended up going another 45 minutes out the way. He said about, we were interested, he said, wow, I don't ever go this way. Like, I've come to London a lot, and I know where we're going to London. I've never been this way, and I realised I'm going completely the wrong way around, which was quite embarrassing, but funny.
Was that just to spend more time with him?
It wasn't. It was a genuine accident, but anyway, whatever. So yeah, we spent a lot of time together there, and then I've just done various other events and trainings with him, and
And what's the most valuable thing that you've taken from his lessons? And I've listened to some of his videos, and it really does just kind of blows your mind a little bit. It's like, wow, that is it.
If I was to explain it in the simplest way, I would probably say the understanding of universal laws. So for me, I was really into personal development and still am into personal development, don't get me wrong, but I used to be really into what I call surface level personal development now. Goal setting, limiting beliefs, stuff like that. And that stuff's great, but that's not the stuff that really creates the massive shifts. Yeah. The monumental, life-changing, earth-shattering movements that people can have. And understanding the concept of universal laws and basically any universal laws, like an unwritten rule that's proven by mathematics and proven scientific concepts and studies, and bringing that into the fold is really incredible, because when you link it back, it's like sociology is just applied psychology, psychology is applied biology is applied chemistry is applied physics is applied mathematics, and you unravel the whole thing, and it's like, right, so if I study maths and quantum physics, that's its purest form, and everything else spans out from that. So if I can understand that, then the impact we can have on people is huge.
And doesn't he? How many doctorates does he have?
I don't know exactly, but I know that there's literally hundreds of disciplines. I mean, you could talk to the guy about anything, and he is sort of expert level, like true expert level in pretty much everything you can think of. I don't know what the exact number is now, but he's read somewhere in the region of about 31,000 books, to give you an idea, which is pretty good going. So yeah, but he has like a photographic memory as well, right? So he's not just read them. And yeah, I've read them. Like he could recite pretty much anything from any one of those books, 30,000 of them.
And are books big for you as well, or is it audibles?
Audible. So for me, it's not so much books; it's knowledge, right? So the knowledge is massive for me. I gain the knowledge, understand the knowledge. So whether that comes in YouTube form, Audible form, podcast form, live event form, whatever it is, it's new knowledge. I was saying new knowledge gives us an opportunity to grow. Any new knowledge that we get gives us an opportunity to grow if we act on that knowledge.
So what's, before we wrap up then, what's a question that I could have asked that perhaps you haven't been asked before, or something that you'd like to answer?
I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's a tough one. What haven't I been asked before? Or what would I like to be asked? Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything. If you've got another question that you particularly want to ask that of anything we've discussed, then feel free to ask.
Is there perhaps any advice and information that perhaps we haven't covered, but you just think is fundamental to move people forward?
So we spoke a lot about North Star trajectory. We've spoken about, sort of touched on values, means values and end values, which I think is really, really important. Belief systems we've touched upon. I think there's two types of people in the world. There's believe it to see it people and see it to believe it people. And a lot of people, they will have to see someone else have achieved something and done something, whatever, for them to believe it's possible for them. But if you believe it's possible, you can make it happen. You really, really can. Something where a lot of people go wrong when they say, well, I think positive. I'm thinking positive. Why is it not happening? It's because they're not feeling positive. And there is a difference between thinking positive and feeling positive. Just the whole positive thinking movement is caused a lot of people a lot of harm because they haven't really understood it. And it doesn't matter how much you think, your heart is a lot more powerful than your head. It's been proven energetically. I can't remember what it is, either 50 times or 500 times. The energetic frequency from your heart is so much more powerful than your head. And that's something that is worth bearing in mind. And if people are not feeling how they want to feel, then it will mean, if they're not attracting, if you like, what it is that they want, it's probably because they've got some sort of block. Now that block could be, which is most typically in the form of shame and guilt of something in any area of their life. Because shame and guilt are the two lowest forms of energy. If you're not familiar with it, look into the Map of Consciousness by Dr. David Hawking, read a book called Power versus Force. It's really good. So there's that, and yeah, that would be things to consider.
So what you're saying is there could be a danger with positive thinking because, I've certainly done it where, things maybe aren't going so well. You'd walk into an office, people are like, how you doing? Yeah, fantastic, doing great. And do you think there is a danger with positive thinking where it's hiding how people are really
that's it.
feeling?
Yeah, because people aren't acknowledging it. Now, if you're going, I feel really great, but you don't feel really great, we can make you feel really great by changing your focus. Yeah? By changing your focus or changing how you're making something mean or the action that you're taking, we can change that. But if you're going, things are great, things are incredible, but actually you're going home and you're crying every night, then that's not going to serve you. Depression is a result of people comparing their current reality, their current situation to or the current reality to a fantasy. So if you've got this fantasy of how life should be and life isn't that, then you're going to find yourself getting depressed. Or what level, or having feelings of depression. what level of having feelings of depression you will have will determine on how far removed you are from your current situation to what that fantasy is.
Brilliant. So thank you, Will. So there is a lot of doing. There's a lot you're doing. You have a lot of events on. We mentioned the Evolve Network and stuff. You just had this 2-day event this weekend. How can people access you? What events can they come to? Where can they find you?
Cool, thank you. So there's a few different ways. So you search Will Polston, so Polston, on anywhere pretty much. You'll be able to find me. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that good stuff. I have a Facebook group which I'm pretty active in called the Make It Happen community. You can go on the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. There's a whole load of stuff there that you can listen to. Where else is there that you can get access to? And then, obviously events. If you want to find out more about our events, go to make-it-happen.co.uk and you can find out more about what we've got going on.
So you got the is it a monthly networking?
Yeah, so we have personal development networking events in at the moment 6 cities around the UK. So Newcastle, Leeds, Sheffield, Manchester, Maidstone in Kent, and Chelmsford in Essex. And then we have so they happen every month. And then my signature 2-day event is Unlock Your Potential, and then there's a few other bits that we do, but they're sort of good places to start for sure.
And when's your next signature 2-day event?
Next event is going to be the 6th and 7th of June 2020. But for anyone that's going to be watching this after that's happened, then we pretty much run them every quarter.
Brilliant, brilliant. And what we'll do is we'll put them in the show notes.
We'll
do all that there. Brilliant. Well, this has been awesome. Loved it.
Pleasure.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Awesome. Thank you.